Okay, guys. Quick, short, special video today. Today's video is about rockets, or why rockets, and it's based on some people I know. I've talked to a lot of people. They've seen the rockets that some people make in the community, and they're really interested in it, but they don't know where to begin. They're kind of like, I want to build a rocket. That's it. And there's no real purpose behind it. And I know some get stuck on it. They maybe take inspiration from other rockets, but they don't really find a purpose for it. And that's why I'm kind of show you roughly what it's about, what I see it as, and maybe some ideas you could take from that. And I want to start first of all with 3 categories I see for that. Number 1, recreation or replicating. The most common one. Some people may, in a lot of cases, they replicate rocket because they like it. There's interest. Some of them have very interesting ways of working. For example, if you take, I've seen on the workshop quite a few people make some SpaceX inspired ones, which I'm I find pretty impressive actually, which can self-land, or shuttles who have the whole entire automated part of it flying upside down, ascending upside down and off, and that's very common. The second one, the second best, is for enjoyment or exploration. Some people, if you take for example me, I wanted to take a bit of a different approach when getting the new DLC. I didn't want to just be that guy who kind of just no-clipped around, explore the map quickly, or even kind of just got an airplane and flew around. I settled it in with something a bit stupid, you could say, and I wanted to explore it using a rover. And that's what I came up with. I used this for the first time until it broke down, and that's just pretty nice. Maybe I'm just a bit weird on that, but you might find enjoyment in exploring just and only having cameras of rovers or stuff just to see around, documenting some stuff. It can be pretty interesting. And the third one, the less often used one, is for practical purposes. That was a lie. There can be numerous types of uses for practical sites. They can be used for transporting people around or cargo around. What I meant to say is, on the practical side of things, the less used method for it, or less used part of it, is just gathering scientific data, or just serving stuff. I've started using recorders, maybe recording data from flights, altitude, temperature over altitude, that type of stuff. And there's some pretty neat stuff you actually find. And with that out of the way, I want to move on to section B, the purpose of rockets. And first of all, I want to start with a statement, is that rockets don't look, and the shape of rockets, the size of rockets, they're not the way they are just because some guy decided they wanted it to be. Well, partially. But it's nothing really to do with aesthetics or anything. It's more of function. If you're making a rocket, you're making it for function. Often in real world, probably less in Stormworks, they're built for a range of payloads. Payloads being what you carry, cargo. If you take, for example, the Ariane 5, it was used for payloads. It can be used in multiple ways for different payloads. You can put quite a variety of stuff in there. You can put one big satellite, two smaller ones, and that's pretty much it. Other ones are a bit more specialized. If you take, for example, the Saturn V, or the Saturn 1B actually, they were very, very specialized. The Saturn 1B could only carry the command and service module of the Apollo spacecraft, and they were made for that. There was no really other purpose for that, and it's also something a bit more used in Stormworks. A lot of rockets you'll find they're just made for one payload that's included for simplicity reasons, and sometimes they're pretty neat. And they also can be used for testing. It's much less common, but if you take, for example, the real life equivalent, a real one used for example, the Little Joe rocket series from the 60s. They were used for testing the launch aborts for the Mercury and then the Apollo spacecrafts. And that's about it. Maybe just testing new parts, testing some equipment. It's much less done, but it's still possible. I still encourage people to do it. And the first section of that is, well, what payloads? I'll start with the most common one, which is waiting for me right here. Manned spacecrafts. Many times you will see, because it's slightly easier, just spacecrafts where people go in. These were made to accompany a crew. They're usually not as complicated as that, but they can get more complicated than that. And that's their purpose. Just a spacecraft, manned spacecraft. This one's missing the service module at the moment, but the second most used one, I would say, is rovers. It's much less used, but it's the second most. These may include mobile laboratories, for example this one. It's currently in work in progress, it's folded up. And it just links back to the exploration or practical experimental side of it. Which is basically, did so much just crash? I'll continue. Which yeah, they can be pretty easy to make. They're just a bit annoying on the logic, and that's about it to them. You can explore different places with them. You can maybe go in radiation zones with them if you don't want to touch those. And the other one are kind of linked. Landers. I just want to make a quick statement of this. I was going to show you. I apologize. I wanted to show you something. I'll probably put a photo now on screen. But your landers, which can be linked, because for example, you take the Pathfinder Sojourner missions, which had a lander and then the rover on it, and that's what they were used for. Often they're not. They're just kind of left aside, but that's about it. Lastly, sorry, probes. They're the least common one. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a probe on the workshop. Because probes are pretty useless in Stormworks. There is no value to them. They're very difficult to make, to keep up in the air, and there's nothing else to say about them. Apologize for the game crashing. But that's all I had to say. I hope you find some. If you want to make spacecrafts, I do encourage you to make them, and I hope I've given you some ideas or some reasoning behind it. You could, even if you're starting out, I recommend you find some bases of existing ones, and base your ideas on that. That said, that's all I have to say today. Enjoy your Wednesday afternoon or evening if you're in Europe.